Fantasy football season is right around the corner, and Philly Sports Talk is here for the first ever mock draft episode. I'm here today with Cade Gargano. Cade, how we doing today?
I'm good, Coy. I'm excited. It's been a long time waiting.
Yeah, and it's been a little while since you've been on, but as football season picks up, I'm sure we'll be recording a good amount of podcasts together. And today, so we'll just get right into the mock draft. So how things gonna work? Doing 10-team PPR, one quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers, or two wide receivers, one tight end, and two flexes. So that's how our league is built in the lineup. And we actually have, for the most part, we got four or three other managers besides us two in our mock draft today. So we won't just have all bots. These are all members from our league, which is a 10-team, pretty competitive league. And we might try to do these once a week. So maybe next week we'll do a 12-team mock. But without further ado, Cade, let's get this thing going. I own the 10th pick in our draft. I know Cade owns the fifth, and we'll just break down some picks and some of the strats that we think. So we'll hit start right now, which will put our guy Cole on the clock here, which he has been consensually taking Jamar Chase, and is probably what I think the right decision. Number three goes Justin Jefferson. Number two is Bijan. Um, I'm trying to think of who I would rather have here. Um, I don't think I'd take Bijan at two. I honestly, Kate, would you take Saquon or Bijan as Saquon goes at four?
I think I would probably take Bijan. There's been a few stats going around that like the amount of touches Saquon got means that there's a higher chance he's going to get injured this year. I don't really know how much I buy into that, but I think Bijan's just at the point of his career where it feels like he's on the trajectory to be the RB1 overall. So I think I would probably take a stab at Bijan.
Gotcha. Hmm. It's close. Yeah, I don't mind it though. What are you thinking here at number five?
So with Saquon gone, Bijan gone, I like the receivers here a little bit more than the running backs. So I think I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I think man, that's tough. So CD Lamb. So we'll talk about CD Lamb in a second. So Puka, Nico, Jameer, and Malik, they go off the board, which leaves me with potentially Amon Ra here. And I don't think that's crazy. We'll talk about the CD pick real fast. The Cowboys, they obviously got George Pickens, so that should be interesting to see how that could affect CD Lamb. I don't think it's going to affect them. I think the Cowboys could bounce back fantasy wise, because obviously last year was treacherous with the Dak Prescott injury. So the top five picks here for a PPR league is kind of what you'd expect to see. Jamar, Bijan, Jefferson, Saquon, CD. I think that will be, for the most part, your main top five, kind of in any order. Maybe CD goes number two. I would not say that's crazy at all. I do like Bijan a lot, even though he's at the number two, because of how good he was in the back half of last season. But we'll talk about my pick for a second here. So this is kind of what I actually might expect to happen. I think Amon Ra is going to fall more than people think in some PPR leagues. I'm not that big on him this year, if I'm being honest. But if he were to fall to me the 10th here, I think I would have to take him. If I'm being completely honest as of right now, my main guy that I would want would probably be Nico Collins, and then next in line, maybe Malik Neighbors here. But in this case, I think I had to go on Ra. I don't think there's much of a reason for me to pass on him when I have back-to-back picks here in a snake draft. So I'll take Amon-Ra St. Brown here. And in years past, have been mainly going hero RB in my drafts. I think I'm going to do the same kind of thing here, and I'm probably going to go Derrick Henry. But you have some possibilities here to really stack up a wide receiver as we're looking here. I could do Brian Thomas with this and stack him up with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I could take Drake London, AJ Brown. Any of those three guys could potentially be a top five wide receiver. With I think even London being, yeah, Drake London was top five last year. Just he had a couple big boons, but and same with Brian Thomas, top four. So obviously as a Philly guy, AJ Brown is also tempting. It's three big receivers. So depending on how you want to do your draft, you want to go double receiver. The 10 spot is a loaded spot to pick from, to potentially get stacked on a wide receiver. But as of right now, I think I've been leaning towards Derrick Henry. Kate, if you were in this spot, what were you thinking?
So I agree with you in the sense that Nico Collins would have been amazing in this spot. I like Nico more than Amon Ra. I do think, and I'm very high on the Bears for the Ben Johnson reason. I think losing Ben Johnson is a serious issue for the Lions. Not a serious issue in the sense that they're going to suck and only win like 8 or 9 games, but they were the highest scoring offense in the league last year. And even if they're the, I don't know, fifth highest scoring offense, like that's not even a crazy thing to project that they drop a few spots. I think the fantasy production takes a massive hit for guys like Amon Ra and even Jameson Williams, David Montgomery. I think Gibbs is going to get his, so I don't think that affects him too much. But I like the Amon Ra pick at 10. That's great value. And then I agree with you. I think I would go Hero RB and go either Henry or Genty.
Yeah, and I think Henry for me is just too safe. I mean, not even too safe. It's more of like a RB1 safe kind of. So I'm going to take Derrick Henry. That's what I've been doing in drafts. So right here, we might be
Are you
glitching.
nervous about the Derrick Henry age at all, or do you think he's just invincible to that?
I, I mean, eventually he's going to slow down, but by the way last year was, I'm just not worried. So we see number nine, Christian McCaffrey goes, and he's kind of a gamble. At number nine, the health is definitely an issue, and the 49ers to me are a little scary. Kate, where would you project McCaffrey to go?
It depends. In most leagues, I think he goes right around here, but knowing a lot of our league mates, I think they're pretty nervous about McCaffrey. I'm not one of them. I traded for McCaffrey in Dynasty. I think he's fine. Either you think he's going to be hurt all year, or do you think he's going to be healthy all year? And I think I lean towards more the side of him being healthy. So I'm perfectly fine with drafting McCaffrey.
Yeah, if you really want to take a gamble if you're in the 10 spot in a 10-team league, you go Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey. But if Christian McCaffrey hits, that is a lethal combo at running back
It's a
because
league winner. It's a league
yeah,
winner in the second round if Christian McCaffrey hits.
exactly. And there's a lot of good receivers. You just got to hit on some of your receivers. So we'll keep it going here at the eighth team. They take Ashton Genty, stack them with Jameer Gibbs, and after that, so let's see if you ought to pick Devon A Chain with Nico Collins. A Chain's an interesting player because usually those guys that aren't good rushers do not have that long of peaks in the NFL. Great pass catching running back, obviously. So we'll see how the situation goes. And then after that, before Cade's pick at number six, Team Six takes Drake London to stack with Puka Nicole, which is pretty nice. So, Cade, walk me through your next pick here.
Yeah, so I would have loved to take Drake London there. I think Drake London's going to have a good season, but I'm not a big fan of doubling down on wide receivers early. Even though the RB class this year, the incoming rookies make the fantasy RBs a lot deeper, I would still prefer to have an elite running back over two potential guys because, as we saw with Bucky Irving, there's going to be running backs this year that we have like no idea and they just come out of nowhere that I can potentially grab on the waiver wires that could end up being league winning. So I like to get an elite wide receiver first, take my hero RB, and then just punt the RB2 position as late as I possibly can. So I would probably go Josh Jacobs here, but Brian Thomas is also there, and I have not seen Brian Thomas make it here in a lot of these drafts. But looking back at the board, there's nothing crazy that happened that would make me think that this isn't a possibility. Like, I feel like if he's here, I'm going to take him. So I'm going to draft Brian Thomas with all that running back talk. But I think it's crazy that he's making it this far. He could finish easily as a top five receiver. He was wide receiver 4 last year with Mac Jones.
Yeah. Um, I like it. Brian Thomas, I personally think he'll go in the 7 to 9 range on that second round in that second round pick, like teen 7 or 9. But I agree with you. The A Chain, Genty, and McCaffrey, that's not crazy. I
Yeah,
think
and
A
honestly,
Chain
if
might
if if
fall.
Thomas goes in one of those spots and one of the running backs fall to me, then I'm happy as well. So there's really not a bad pick there.
Yeah, so the interesting thing here is AJ Brown is still wide open available here. Now we see with Team 4, they already have Saquon Barkley, so if you want to stack the two Eagles, that could be an interesting task. And honestly, knowing our Team 4 here, I think he wants to take AJ, but I think he's kind of scared to take those two Eagles as, they kind of alternate through weeks of who has some big games. So we'll wait to see who he picks. He is in the draft. He does do AJ
He does
Brown.
go AJ Brown.
Yeah,
So Coy, at this point, he would almost have to pick Jalen Hurts as well, right? You would either go all in, like
it's it's kind of an interesting thing because I mean we saw last year in our league last year, guys. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and Mark Andrews was a trio that made the championship. They ultimately lost. And I feel like Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, and Saquon Barkley is a little bit scarier, which I don't know why. Like, I don't know why you would consider it more scary. Maybe just because of how reliable Lamar is fantasy wise, and Derrick Henry. I mean, even though Saquon was amazing last year, so I feel like I don't know more. Maybe it's just like a name thing or something, or like the Eagles, how good they are. They just throw it around a little bit more than the Ravens. But we'll get off that for now. Team three picks Josh Jacobs. I really like it. I
That's
was
a
talking
great
with Cade
start.
earlier.
That's a great start.
Josh Jacobs is a workhorse. It's a really nice pick. He pairs him with Justin Jefferson. Brock Bowers goes at team two, and it depends on how you like the tight ends. But Brock Bowers was head over heels, one of the best tight ends in the league last year, and fantasy wise. With the quarterback situation, it is a little concerning. I believe Geno Smith is the guy there now, and I don't know how he's going to do with Geno. Obviously, he did really good with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew last year, but sometimes those situations don't last. So after that Bowers pick, Jamar Chase and Bucky Irving get teamed up. But Kate, what do you think of the Brock Bowers pick? I feel like that's an interesting one because he's been the tight end to go pretty early in a lot of mocks.
Yeah, I think you're right. It just depends how you view the tight end position. If you love that positional advantage and not having to worry about streaming anybody, then yeah, Brock Bowers is a perfect pick, especially because that team just took Josh Allen now. So they have two huge positional advantages. But it does scare me because when you have two flex spots, I feel like you can't. He's gonna have to start. I don't know. He's gonna have to start an ugly name at that second flex spot now that he has Brock Bowers and Josh Allen. Like I'm
Yeah.
not a big fan of punting those position players that late, but I feel like on a weekly basis when you see Josh Allen score 30 and Brock Bowers score 23, like I think you'll be all right.
Yeah.
But I just wouldn't do it
It's
personally.
a realistic draft strategy. So like going best position or best player available at a position. So he arguably has the RB1, tight end one, and QB1, and which you're gonna have to hit later in the draft for those flexes, as you said. So briefly before you take your next pick, Cade, team one goes Tyreek Hill. Interesting name, obviously a very poor season last year. But if it hits, if you have Jamar and Tyreek Hill, and then Bucky Irving, it's a lethal combo, a lethal trio. Team three pairs Lad McConkey next to Justin Jefferson, which I like. I
I
think
think
McConkey is a pretty safe
yeah,
receiver
I
this
think
year.
Lad making it to the third round is crazy.
He's pretty safe. I really like him. And then team four goes Terry McLaurin. They stack with AJ Brown and Saquon. The booms on that team could be unbelievable. So, Kate, walk me through your next pick here.
So I'm in a tough spot. I know with my brain that Jackson Smith and Jigba is good and will probably have a good season, but I'm so anti Sam Darnold that I don't want to take him, and I already have two receivers, so it's going to be tough looking at him on the board and not being able to take him. And this is really why I don't like going wide receiver, because now I have to have one of these like fringe RB1 guys almost carrying my team, but I'm definitely not going Jonathan Taylor. I cannot. Jonathan Taylor was not good last year until the very end of the season. He finished RB12, but I feel like before the last like 3 or 4 games, he was not good. So I'm not going to go Jonathan Taylor. Kyron's okay. I like that, but I think I'm going to take the upside of Chase Brown as my RB1 this season.
Yeah, so if you're looking at the screen here, the Jonathan Taylor game log, it's a very interesting game log. It's a little scary. May have won you your league if he was on your team with that championship week.
He had a great playoff. He had great playoffs,
Yeah,
but
but
it was
his
not pretty before that.
Yeah, and so you're right. The running backs there at your spot are very intriguing. Obviously, you take Chase Brown. Um, there's a couple guys that could be top five, but what to see. So after that, after Cade's pick at number five, Team Six takes Lamar to stack with Drake London and Puka Nacua. I like that. I think Lamar Jackson gonna be top three quarterback season. JSN paired with Nico Collins, Von A Chain. Talked about JSN briefly. Team eight. I don't know if you guys will have a manager in your league that likes running backs, but maybe they want to stash running backs. Go Gibbs, Genty, and Taylor. Not the craziest thing we've ever seen, but Jonathan Taylor would not have been my pick there if I was in Team Eight's shoes. Maybe that hits though.
I
And
think I'd
Team
rather have
Nine,
Kyron Williams over Jonathan Taylor.
yeah, Kyron Williams is interesting. When are we going to see? Why am I blanking on the Michigan running back right now? Why am I blanking on his name?
Blake
Oh, Blake
Corum.
Corum. Why I they said that they want to work him in at some point. I'm not sure, but I do like Kyron. So Kyron with McCaffrey and Malik, it's a pretty solid start. So my pick here, this is interesting because I've always been a fan of taking quarterbacks early. I think I'm going to avoid Jaden Daniels though because I think some guys are could produce the same amount, and the sophomore slump is a thing at times. So I think recently I'm starting to get on that Garrett Wilson train a little bit because he was top 10 even in the system last year, coming in at wide receiver 10. I think with Justin Fields, he could be solid. I'm not leaning towards Trey McBride here. I think there's some good tight end options late. So I'm going to take Garrett Wilson here and stack him with Amon-Ra St. Brown. On a bad week, Amon-Ra and Garrett Wilson, that could be a very, very bad dud. But I'm leaning on the upside there. So Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra, Derrick Henry, my first three picks. And things get interesting here with my fourth because I could just go running back and have two good running backs and two good receivers. But T. Higgins, a lot of people forget when he's on the field, he averages like the second most points per game fantasy wise for a receiver, and that's behind like Jamar Chase, which is crazy. The problem is that's when he's on the field. So I do like T. Higgins, but for the value here at my pick, I would probably avoid T. Higgins. I don't think it's crazy to take him here. And, maybe within the next couple weeks before we draft, I have a change of heart there. I'm not that high on Brees Hall. He was a consensus first round pick the last couple of years. I feel like James Cook is an intriguing name, and so is Rashee Rice until the legal issues. So you're kind of just taking who maybe your favorite guy is out of all these guys. I talked with Cade earlier. I'm not that crazy on Marvin Harrison. Yes, he put on muscle, but the problem for me is separation. And muscle will definitely help, but it's not going to be the determining factor.
It
In
was also the
separation.
offensive scheme. Like
It's
they
the
just ran
offensive
through Trey
scheme as well.
McBride the whole time.
Yeah. So, and Mike Evans has been always reliable, and there's a chance I could end up with Baker Mayfield down the line. So I could do that stack if I decide to do that. Here, Kate, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a little I don't know who I would take here as of now, and that's why I'm running the clock down a little bit. Um, this is tough. I'm gonna lean here at this pick. I could go George Kittle, but man, this is tough. Um, Forgive me for a second here. I got 10 seconds anyway. I think I'm gonna take James Cook here. I think I'm gonna go two running backs, two wide receivers, take a good mix there. But I gave my input on James Cook K before he pick. McBride goes at 9, Daniels at 8, so team 8 is a really interesting team. Brees Hall, team 7, kind of does the same strategy as I do, and Devontae Adams off the board, which I'm a big fan of Devontae Adams. I
Yeah,
really like team
I'm very
16 as well.
disappointed that that just happened
Yeah,
because
so
that's what I wanted.
Cade, steal the floor.
So I like your picks. I think James Cook is probably going to have some touchdown regression. I think he had like 16 touchdowns last year, which is insane. But I still think he's a good running back. The only thing that scares me about Garrett
Yep.
Wilson is we know how good Garrett Wilson is, but I'm such a big fan of taking good players on good offenses, and I think the Jets are going to be just downright brutal this season. Even though they could just force feed Garrett Wilson targets, kind of like Malik Neighbors got last year. So I don't hate it, but you're right. Like the upside's awesome on your team, but if Amon Ra and Garrett Wilson have down weeks, they could combine for 10 points.
Yeah.
So it's scary, but I do like your start a lot. Team 8 goes with 4 running backs in a row. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do here. Part of me wants to. Part of me almost wants to block Enzo from getting Jalen Hurts because that could be a lethal trio. Saquon, AJ Brown, and Jalen Hurts. That could be scary to face week in and week out.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes I don't mind facing those teams because I'm almost banking on a bad week from them, even though usually it's a good week and it kills you. Um, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, this is an interesting pick for you. See what you
So
decide to do.
I love Alvin Kamara, but he missed the playoffs last year. I don't really put too much stock into that, but he was really good last season before he missed those games. He was RB9 and he missed 3 games. So I think I'm, oh man, but Joe Burrow's there too, and Joe Burrow, Chase Brown could be not. Oh, my time's up.
Hold
Um,
on.
hold
Who
on,
would
yeah,
you have
just
taken?
I would have taken Alvin Kamara.
All right, we'll let you get your guy if it's gonna let us.
You might have to pause the draft.
Hold on.
There we go. All right, I got it.
There we go. All right,
All right.
so Team 4 ended up taking Jalen Hurts anyway. Team 3 goes to Marion Hampton, so we might
Ooh,
start to see some rookies here.
Lad
Uh,
McConkey as well on his team, so he's doubling down on Chargers.
yeah, that would be interesting. And team two goes Marv. We talked about Marv a little bit. So team two is going one player at each position. It's an interesting strategy. It's not a bad strategy. It can work easily. And if Marv ends up being a top 10 receiver, then all of a sudden that team is looking insane. But let's see. Our team one here is currently not in the draft. We'll give him a few seconds and we'll discuss if he doesn't come in, then we'll auto pick for him. But nothing really crazy so far in round four, kind of just like your standard picks, I feel like, except for Amarian Hampton. That's the interesting one. Uh, Obviously, he's paired with Najee Harris, so we'll see kind of how he does fantasy wise. But I like it. I probably wouldn't do it in round four. I've taken some risks in past drafts. Last year, I took Marv Harrison pretty early in the second round. I don't think I'm going to be a fan of taking another rookie. Even though it's round four, it's obviously not a high second rounder. I probably would avoid it. But team one comes in, so they're up on the clock here. Cade, what do you think of Amarion here?
Ooh, that receiver. So the Amaron Hampton pick is interesting because I think he could have got him in the fifth round, 100%. Because
Yeah,
I love Amaron Hampton. He wouldn't have made it past me, that's for sure, in the fifth. Because I think he's going to start the season slow. I think we all agree with that. I think Najee's going to be the lead back, even though the firework thing is interesting. But I think Amarion Hampton by week, I don't know, 9, we're going to see kind of a Bucky Irving type of thing where Rashad White and Najee Harris, they're going to get work and they both are got work. But I think the rookie and just the better overall back is just going to take over. I don't think Najee's going to get completely benched because I think he's serviceable enough to still get snaps and maybe even red zone snaps. But I think Hampton, they wasted good draft capital on him, so they're going to use him.
yeah,
And Harbaugh likes to run the ball, so I don't hate the pick, honestly.
yeah. I agree. Team one, they end up taking Rasheed Rice and George Kittle. If Rasheed Rice hits, depending on the prison sentence and all that stuff, team one is looking really good. Team two goes T. Higgins. I like the value there. I mentioned thinking about him in that round four pick, but he ends up dropping like 12 picks. So I like the ADP there. Team three, DJ Moore, kind of a risk, but you never know with the Caleb Williams setup. And then team four goes Kenneth Walker. I have Kenneth Walker in Dynasty, and I am a fan of it if you can get Zach Charbonnet because he's one of the handcuffs that can actually produce. But other than that, Cade, you can walk us through what's going on in your head right now.
Yeah, so I think my pick's pretty easy here. I kind of contradicted myself with the Alvin Kamara thing that I was saying with Garrett Wilson, saying to pick good players on good offenses. The Saints probably won't be a good offense, but I like the value in the fourth for Kamara, who could be a potential top 8 RB. I think this pick's pretty easy. I'm going to go Joe Burrow and stash him with Chase Brown.
Yeah, I like that pick. I thought you were going to Joe Mixon, and honestly, Joe Mixon may have been my pick here if he did not go to Team 9. But Joe Burrow, one of the best quarterbacks in football last season. You can't deny those numbers, especially with Jamar Chase, who would have been a lethal stack. I would have thought, honestly, that maybe Team 1 may have taken him over George Kittle to get the stack there. He decides not to. So after that, Team 6 is going all in on receiver. Again, it's 2 receiver, 2 flex. So all 4 of those players will be starters between Smith, Devontae, Drake London, Puka Nakua. I really like that. It's not a bad idea. You're just going to have to hit on a running back. Like, you have to hit on one running back. And, if your second running back's a little weaker, that's fine, but you got to have a good running back. Sam Laporta goes. I'm not a fan of Sam Laporta. I did not have his best season last year. Tight end 8, not awful, but a massive difference, 60-point difference in his PPR points per game. So I'm not that high on that pick. Mike Evans goes, solid value, and Joe Mixon. So Team 9 and Team 8, both with 3 running backs. And it leaves me here in an interesting spot because, again, I already have 2 receivers and 2 running backs. So I have the chance to go really anywhere I want to here if I want. So there's a lot of options here for me. And I'm looking at it. DK is intriguing with Aaron Rodgers. It's definitely intriguing, but he's really hit or miss, man. But he's also one of their only options when you look at it. But he has regressed fantasy value every season since 2020. That's obviously a little concerning. I think Zay Flowers has shown some flashes, but I just don't. I would probably fade here at this pick for me. But I could see him even going up to top 15 if I'm being honest. Um, so this is really tough, and this has kind of been the consistently tough pick for me. I think I'm gonna lean Chuba Hubbard or Hubbard. Okay. We have a
We got
joke
our
going on that we
yeah.
say Hugh Bard, so that's why I said it's obviously Chuba Hubbard. So I'm going to go Chuba Hubbard and take the good running back value there because in years past I've had too much at receiver and not enough at running back. So now I feel pretty safe with my running backs because I think this is a deep receiver class, and if you hit on it, I think you can get some great value late. So again, Hugh Bard, Hubbard goes for me there. And this is where you start to see some rookies fall, like go into the or get drafted. I'm not gonna take Travis Hunter kind of guy or Tet McMillan right now. I'm not. I would not be like shocked if it happens though. So again, I could kind of go anywhere I want here besides running back. It kind of puts me in position. I can take really anything. Um, I think I want to avoid DK Metcalf as of now. And Sutton's good. He's reliable, but there's not much of a ceiling there. He's a safe play at flex. You know,
I would like Sutton as my wide receiver 4 over my wide receiver 3.
yeah, I completely agree with you. So this is a tough pick for me. I think, Jalen Waddle could have a bounce back season with the Dolphins. That's an intriguing player for me later, but
Would you think about going Baker here?
I'd think about it. The ADP here has Baker a little lower. I
I don't know
mentioned
if he'd make it back to you. That's the only issue. That Mike Evans team might snatch him on the way back.
Yeah, I'd be fine with pass on him and taking somebody else because I think there's some really good quarterbacks and seeing if he makes it back to me. This is tough, Kate. I'm in a weird spot. I do like Hawkinson. I think that could be good value, but also there's good tight ends values later as well. So I'm ruling out taking a running back here, and Jameson Williams is intriguing, and I've always been a little biased towards Mahomes. This is tough, but I think I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to take a risk and go Jalen Waddle for some ceiling. But it's an
I don't
interesting
hate it.
pick. I was kind of in between there. Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson, not the best situations, so you could see some hit or miss stuff there. But yeah, enough of that pick. Cade, you can talk about it if you want for in a second. But we'll say Zay goes, Hawkinson, Metcalf, Connor go. So kind of all in ADP order. And Cade, you can take it over here.
So I like that pick. I thought Jalen Waddle was a solid pick. I think though Xavier Worthy might be a little bit better, and I'm actually kind of happy he fell to me. I think Xavier Worthy is a good player, but over the first half of the summer, it was like, yeah, he's good, but he was operating in that Rashee Rice role, and how good is he going to be with Rashee Rice back? Well, now with this suspension with Rashee Rice, we don't really know how. Well, first, we don't know how long he's going to be out. Second, we don't know how fast he's going to get back into the offense when he comes back. Like, let's say he's out for, I don't know, 6 games. And what if Xavier Worthy is going crazy in the first 6 games? They're not just going to boot his role entirely because Rashee Rice is coming back from an idiotic suspension. So I'm definitely contemplating Xavier Worthy, but I think I'm going to pull the trigger. Oh, man, I really don't want to. But I think I am going to go Ted McMillan here. I
Oh,
I
there we go.
I
As I
I don't.
predicted.
So you predicted that?
Well, no, I said this is where you might start to see some
Yeah,
rookies go.
I just think that I was very impressed with Bryce Young and the Panthers at the end of that season. I think the offense, the brand new offense, I think it finally clicked for him, and he kind of started playing well. And I think Ted McMillan's an alpha in that receiving room. Is Adam Thielen still there?
He is still there, yeah.
I think he is still there, but he'll eat us some targets, obviously, because he might play until he's 100. But I think Ted McMillan's going to be the red zone target. I think he's a solid wide receiver 3, especially with how deep the wide receiver class is that you were just talking about.
Yeah, we'll see. So DeAndre Swift goes right after that, which is not a bad pick because the Bears did not really invest much in a running back. I know they took Kyle McGonigal or Moningai, or I forget how you pronounce it, with a later pick, but nothing really insane there. So they might have some faith in Swift. Sutton goes off the board to team 3. David Montgomery goes team 2. Team 1's on the clock here. They're not in the draft currently. We'll give him another moment here. We'll start to speed up a little bit as the later rounds go, and we won't do all 15 picks unless we're going pretty fast and stopping to break it down. We'll probably go at least like 11 or 12. Maybe we'll go all the way and we'll just stop breaking down after like pick 12 or just like briefly discuss. But so far, We'll look at the teams for a second while we wait for Team 1 to get in. If I'm looking at mine right now, I really like the way this looks. I know Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle are kind of gambles, as I said, but they're gambles that I like. Again, I do like Garrett Wilson as a gamble. I am kind of intrigued Jalen Waddle, you know, but obviously that can miss badly. So I have the RB depth in Hubbard, James Cook, and Derrick Henry, and obviously missing that tight end and quarterback. Our league does not do kickers or defenses. We've got rid of that a little while ago. We think it's silly.
We've matured.
Yeah, and we don't think you should either. But yeah, so that's how my team looks right now. Cade's team, I am a fan of it as well. Obviously, the Burrow Chase Brown stack. Week 10 is going to be a tough week as Burrow, Brown, and CD will all be
I'll
out. But
already have the 1 seed locked up by then.
yeah,
You don't have to worry about
it's all right to have a scheduled loss here and there.
it. Yeah.
Ted McMillan, the rook, and the flex spot. So we'll see. Number one, we're going to CPU here. We'll see if he comes in within the next few seconds here, but I doubt it.
I do like Team One that you
Yeah,
mentioned it.
yeah.
I like Team One a lot. It has a lot of upside, but it also has a lot of downside.
Yeah, I mean, you're when with the upside, you're banking on Rasheed Tyreek. So
And
Jameson
Jamison
Williams.
Williams at this point.
Yeah, but Jameson Williams as a you're like your second flex. I
That's
do
true.
like it.
That's very true.
We're gonna auto pick here as Team One has not been coming in the draft. Quinshon Judkins, that's a realistic pick. I could see that happening. Xavier Worthy goes off the board to Team Two, and we'll see what Team Three decides to do as he is in the draft. Team Three has been a fan of RG Harvey in our dynasty draft, so I wouldn't be shocked if he does. He
Mm.
decides to go George Pickens, and he's stacking a wide receiver. So obviously now one of these five wide receivers will not be able to be in his starting lineup. Um, but we're not doing just the starting lineup in this mock. We're going to go a little bit later. So Team 4, they go Isaiah Pacheco, and Cade and I had some discussions earlier. I'm not a fan of Isaiah Pacheco. Maybe in round 7, it's not a bad pick in round 7. He was a little slow coming back from his injury last year, obviously had a broken tibia, so that is not a good thing. I don't know. He's just a little. There's not really much volume for pass catching. So you see here in 2023 when he was played 14 games, he only had 44 receptions, had two passing or receiving touchdowns, and when he played his full season in 2022 as the RB 37, just 13 catches for no touchdowns. But obviously he didn't have as much volume as he did in his second season. There's just not much passing volume there, so the ceiling is so limited for Isaiah Pacheco, and that's why I'm not the biggest fan of him in a PPR league. But round 7 is not that bad. So
Yeah, with me on the clock here, I think the pick is pretty easy. Well, at least for me personally. RB depth is a little thin right now, just because there's not much backups in, and Alvin Kamara is injury prone, and I think Travion Henderson's probably the third best rookie RB in the class. I don't know if you would agree with that, but I think it's Jency Hampton pretty
yeah,
clearly 1 and 2, and then I think that Henderson's number 3, and he's in a good situation. Mike Vrabel likes to run the ball, Patriot way kind of thing, and I'm not a big fan of Ramondre Stevenson. I don't really think that's going to block him off for too long.
I agree. I do like the pick there. So after Henderson, Chris Olave goes. That team 6 is stacked with receivers. Excuse me, I almost had a cough there. RG Harvey goes after that. Chris Godwin stacked to Mike Evans. So teammate might be a little clueless going 3 running backs and then Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. But crazier things have happened than a crazy draft strategy ended up working out. So
We have a member in our league that would probably do that.
yes, we do. Uh, Bo Nix goes off the board here. And, I talked about Mahomes' last pick, and I probably would take Mahomes. Honestly, Baker Mayfield's probably the better option, but it's just so fun to watch Patrick Mahomes. You know, it's kind of tough. I feel like Baker Mayfield's the right pick here. Obviously, I have back to back, so I can take. You know what? I'm going to go on a gamble here. If this were to happen, I don't know if I would actually do this, but if I'm feeling risky, I'm going to go Mahomes, and I'll talk about it before I do it. I'm going to go Travis Kelce. So I'll take the stack. Obviously Travis Kelce was not the same Kelce last year. He's not going to be like that guy probably ever again, honestly. But I like the upside of a stack here. Mahomes and Kelce fit around the team that I have. So I'll take that and show you guys what it looks like altogether. As my starting lineup is filled out. Mahomes, QB, Henry, and James Cook, Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, Travis Kelce with the stack, Chuba Hubbard, and Jalen Waddle. Kate, what do you think of that potential stack here around 7 and 8?
I actually don't hate it at all. I think the pick was, I wouldn't have gone Kelsey because there's one guy still on the board that I'm easily going to take with no question about it. But I think the Mahomes Kelsey one last ride. I'd imagine Kelsey's going to retire after this year, so I could see a world where it's like he gets a little retirement tour, maybe has a lot of touchdowns, maybe not a lot of yards anymore in his bag, but I could see him getting like 2 games where he has like 3 touchdowns and 2 touchdowns, and you see like a NFL post like vintage Kelsey's here. So I can see Kelsey finishing as a top 4 tight end potentially. I mean, he was 5 last year,
Yeah,
so I don't
um,
hate it at all.
I agree with you. I think I know who you're going to take here. You can take him if you're ready to go. Um,
Yeah, I'm gonna take Travis Hunter here. I
Really, I
think
thought you were
that's
looking at tight end, but no, I like that value. That's a good pick as well. Um, Back to the Kelsey thing for a second. I honestly like Evan Ingram more, but I don't like him enough more to not take the stack with Mahomes. Um, but Evan Ingram's a really safe, a really good option going into the Broncos system that really likes to dump balls. So I think he could be really good with Bo Nix. So I do like Travis Hunter as K goes. Khalil Shakir goes to team
thousand
four.
yard receiver, by the way.
1,000 yard receiver Khalil Shakir. Well, 5 yards off, but still right there. We'll see what Team 3 decides to do with this upcoming pick, and we'll start to speed up the draft and do a little bit of a less breakdown as our starting lineup should be getting close to filled out. Obviously, mine is filled out. Cade is just missing the tight end as of now, but he's going to have some good options coming around on the swing here, more than likely. So we see Tony Pollard go. Caleb Johnson goes after that. Caleb Johnson's an intriguing prospect there for the Steelers. They kind of have a weird running back room as I'll pull it up for you guys right now. Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, Cordero Patterson. Well, not so much Patterson. It's more Gainwell, Warren, and Johnson here. So honestly, Caleb Johnson with this pick, probably a solid pick for our CPU here at Team 2.
I'm
Um,
a very big fan of Caleb Johnson. I think he's gonna have a good year. I think this is a perfect place for him to be drafted as well.
yeah, so,
Team wise, not like perfect place to be drafted in our draft. I mean the Steelers. The situation's perfect.
yep. Um, Team 1 has not been active in a little bit, so we're just going to CPU his pick. He goes Jared Goff. Jared Goff, it's not a bad fantasy option. He goes Calvin Ridley, which is realistic. He is a Calvin Ridley guy, actually, so I could see that happening. Uh, and it's, there's some upside there with Cam Ward. We'll take a look at his receiver room he's competing with, and Tyler Lockett and Elik Ayamanor. I definitely butchered that, but I know he was a receiver drafted this past season. Could be some upside, but really it's Calvin Ridley's receiver room until otherwise. So we see Mark Andrews go after Tyrone Tracy. That's a solid value, good pick. Had the most touchdowns of his career last year, if I remember correctly. Yes, he did. So still some value. I keep telling Cade I think eventually Isaiah Likely is going to have a surgeons up, but I do like that pick. And Team 4 is on the clock here. They are in the draft. We'll see who they decide to go with. Team 4, I think, has filled out their whole roster. No, they're missing tight end. So Evan Ingram's still one of those guys that I really like. He's still available. I think that's going to be Cade's guy personally at this next pick if I predicted yours correctly, unless Team 4 decides to go with him. But I would take Ingram over Jonnu Smith. I think Jonnu Smith, even though he was tight end 4
Johnu
and higher
Smith is in
last
the
year.
gutter.
Um,
Let's not even sugarcoat it. Johnu Smith is in the gutter
yeah,
on the Steelers.
we'll see what that offense looks like. So as we wait for Team 4 to pick here again, we'll start to speed up a little bit, a little less breakdown in every pick. But we'll talk about some sleepers here and there. And yeah, so Jerry Judy's still on the board. That's some good upside. I kind of like Jerry Judy here. That might be my pick if he were to fall, but I doubt he were to fall all the way to me. We see Jacoby Myers go, and Jacoby Myers has been very underrated as the last couple years. Wide receiver 19 last year, and Cade's now on the clock here.
Yeah, so I'm in a weird spot. Well, not really a weird spot. All I need is a tight end to round out my starting roster. I did take rookies the last 3 rounds, and I really just noticed that. I did think McMillan at the time, where there was like Sutton around him, and who else was around him? It was like Sutton and Jamison Williams. I think he probably has the most upside, so that's why I picked him. But looking back, I probably wouldn't have gone 3 rookies in a row, but that's why they called a mock draft. I would probably. I don't know, man. I want to go Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram's the smartest pick, but Jerry Judy and Jawan Jennings are very interesting because Jawan Jennings might be the only target other than George Kittle on that team, and they're gonna pay him money because they don't have anybody else. But I'd probably go Evan Ingram. I feel like that's the smartest pick.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you, there's still some big names out there, and I saw one of them go. Cooper Cup, I'm not that high, I'm not that much of a fan of him anymore in that Seattle offense. But Tyler Warren, he goes. That was one of the names I was looking at. Um, Juwan Jennings gets picked after that, but still, Debo Samuel, Stephon Diggs, there's some serious name value there. Even Brandon Ayuk. So honestly, and Jaden Reed, even though they obviously took Matthew Golden, I might take a risk. My receiving room is a little bit weird right here. So if you were to have a receiving room like mine, I'm gonna go back to back here, Cade. I'm probably gonna go. I'm gonna go Stephon Diggs and Brandon Ayuk and hope for the best out of that. There's some question marks in my receivers already in Wilson and Waddle, and I think two more solidified vets that are kind of question marks. I'd like to think two of the four question marks pan out. And so I'm sorry. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't hate it at all. I just don't know when Ayuk's coming back. I really haven't seen that many reports about it, but he did have a down year last year, which is kind of scary. Coming off a major injury, he's probably going to miss the first 4 weeks guaranteed, maybe six. But I don't hate it. I don't hate it, especially in the 10th round. I mean, you're shooting for upside at this point. And
Yeah,
the Diggs pick, I like the Diggs pick a lot. I've been taking a lot of Diggs. I think Drake May is in for a really good season. And who else is he going to throw to? Maybe Kyle Williams, right? Is that his name? The
yeah,
rookie that they
yeah,
drafted? Yeah, maybe Kyle Williams. But I think Diggs is just going to be that veteran that he's just going to be not a check down merchant, but safety blanket is a better word. I think he's going to be Drake May's safety blanket. So I could see him racking up a lot of receptions.
yeah. I like it. So Cade's on the clock here. We'll see what he decides to do. Again, I like those two picks I just made. Nothing really big coming in these four picks. And Jalen Warren, B Rob, Ricky Pearsall, Najee Harris. Probably four guys I would probably stay away from if I was in your draft. That's just me personally, though. There are some better options, I think, out there, some better gambles. Uh, so let's see
So
what Cade decides
I,
to do.
I think there's a pretty clear pick here. I've been drinking a lot of the 2025 rookie class Kool-Aid. So Matthew Golden is staring at me like the Green Goblin mask. He's just talking to me. I
Yeah.
want to pick him, but I'm not going to. I'm going to take Josh Downs here. I think Josh Downs is in for a pretty good season with Daniel Jones, and some people were like, really, with Daniel Jones? But he was wide receiver 35 last year, so he was a wide receiver three, and I'm getting him in the 10th round. I feel that's fine value. Can't get much worse. I think Anthony Richardson's a not a very good quarterback, so I think Daniel Jones will be. I think Daniel Jones actually might give him some PPR upside.
Yeah, I like the pick as well. Um, and Josh Downs is a reasonable. I like the pick there. No, seriously. So Cade fills out his fifth receiver. We see David Njoku go at pick number 4 here. The team 4 rounds out their starting lineup with Njoku at tight end. Team 3 is not in the draft. We're going to CPU him. Actually, no, he just got in, so we'll let him live to see this pick. Um,
Were we gonna kill him?
uh, maybe. So we'll see what Team 3 decides to do here. They are missing a quarterback still. So eventually they're going to have to take one. Everybody. It looks like every other team in this mock has a quarterback. So he
There's
can
some
kind of,
good quarterbacks left on the board.
yeah, he can kind of just hold out here and expect to, try and try expecting that nobody else is going to take one. Which did he decide to do? Yes, he did. He takes Debo Samuel. So another bigger name there. And late in the draft, not a bad pick. We're going to CPU team number 1 as they have not been in for a little bit. Goes John Smith, get their second tight end, which is top 4 tight end. I know we just discussed it. Kyler Murray goes, and then Matthew Golden goes to team 2. So team 2, honestly, to me, was a very realistic CPU guy. And
It
then we
actually
see the
turned out pretty nice for taking Bowers and Allen so early,
yeah, I agree. So then we see team 3. They finally get their quarterback. They go Justin Herbert to
which makes
stack
a
with
lot of
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a perfect pick.
it's a good stack. And now team 4 is on the clock. We're going to CPU him because he's not in, which is okay. Jaden Reed goes also. A guy that was a lot higher in recent drafts. He falls the 11th round. I mean, reasonably so with the first round selection of Matthew Golden and only averaging 11.5 PPR, 11.5 points per game in PPR. So Cade's back on the clock here.
Yeah, I don't really like the running backs here. I think the running backs are kind of ugly. Darnell Mooney is interesting. Caleb Williams as a backup is interesting, but that doesn't make much sense right now. I feel like I can get him way later. I you're you're not gonna like this pick, but I feel like there's a world where if the Cowboys are a good offense again, and like they're like 2 years ago where they're one of the highest scoring offenses in the league, I feel like points are just going to fall into Javonte Williams' lap. I think as he like there's a world where if a running back gets hurt on my team and I have to plug him in, if he scores a touchdown, he could have 14 points on the week. So it's not like I don't hate it, but it's banking a lot on the Cowboys being a good offense. And he's still only 25. Like he's going to be the lead back. They only have Miles Sanders, and I don't think Jaden Blue's going to be anything this season. So
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I don't hate it. Again, we're trying to find some diamonds here late. It's not like anything serious. So here again, you're kind of banking on some guys. I think one of my biggest picks here maybe would be Jaden Higgins at this point, and then after that, it's kind of up in the air as well for who I would
I
take. I
would
could
take.
keep going with the rookies, or I mean, right now I have there's no way he's going to be this late. I think I would go J.K. Dobbins, even though that Broncos running back room is a little concerning with how crowded it is and how Sean Payton likes to run his offense, but in round 12, it just for me is I don't know if I would pass that up. So we see Loveland, Mason, Dak go, and Stevenson. We'll see what Kate decides to do here.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to take a shot on another rookie. It's just between, for me personally, it's between Trey Harris and Luther Burden. I like the Bears offense. I'm high on the Bears offense, so I kind of want at least some sort of piece of it. I don't think Luther Burden's going to be anything special, but I think I'm going to go Trey Harris. Mike Williams just retired. He's clearly the wide receiver two on that offense, so
Yeah,
maybe he has a pretty solid rookie year. You never know.
yeah. So yeah, I like it too. Late round rookies are always a good gamble, especially first round rookies. So Emeka Egbuka is still there. Michael Pittman, obviously, who's been interesting to follow the last couple of years, is
Michael
still
Pittman went in
available.
the third round in our draft last year.
Yeah, so intriguing stuff there. This after this round, we'll do round 13 and we'll call it a draft. So one more round after these four picks, we see Michael Pittman go there, and we're gonna CPU these next couple. Charbonnet goes, which is solid. Charbonnet may have been an option for Team Four here, just to get the stash with Kenneth Walker, but they not they do not. And Emeka Egbuka goes. We'll auto CPU. Keon Coleman, interesting name there. Trey Benson, a good handcuff behind James Conner, who has had some injury history. And then we see Jake Ferguson go to Team Two. So Team Two is a really realistic draft strategy. And then Cade Williams goes off the board to Team Three. Obviously, new coordinators, so maybe something happens. We'll see what Team Four decides to do here. As this will be their last pick again. But Cade, what are you looking at really in one of these rounds right now? Is picturing this as the last round of your draft?
I'm really just shooting for pure upside at this point. I have backups already at pretty much every position. Now it's just hoping to find that Bucky Irving kind of diamond in the rough that maybe wins you a league somehow. But I think I would. Ooh, but Justin Fields is an interesting player because is there a world where Justin Fields is a top five quarterback with the rushing?
I mean, there's a world top five. I thought you were going to say top 10. Then I would have agreed that it's very realistic.
I think top
Um,
10 is almost a given with how much he runs. If he plays 17 games, he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. But I don't think I'm going to go Justin Fields. I think I'm going to go Luther Burden. Like I said, I just wanted a piece of this Bears offense, and they did just give him. I think they gave him like 12 million guaranteed in his contract or something like that. So they obviously think highly of him. And this is like a Ben Johnson. This is the first guy Ben Johnson took. Well, him and Loveland. So maybe he likes what he sees.
yep. So now I hold the Mr. Irrelevant pick. Rashad White is not a bad name. He kind of had an up and down season last year. Obviously, Bucky Irving took over the reins in Tampa
Still
Bay.
serviceable.
Yeah, so it's not a bad idea here. Jaden Blue is interesting. Bishal Tootin is definitely interesting in a running back room that he could definitely win over in Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne. Kyle Pitts, who's going to take the gamble on him? It happens every single year. Other than that, again, I told you what I think of Isaiah Likely. There's some value there late. Maybe Cam Ward late. But I think here, again, as you said, this is straight for upside. I'm trying to look to see if there's any other sleepers that I missed along the way throughout this draft, but I'm not seeing much of anything. Braylon Allen there as a handcuff could be pretty nice. Um, but as of right now, I'm going to do. I was thinking about Keenan Allen, but because I think he will eventually sign, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take. I'm just backing my word on this. I'm gonna go Isaiah Likely for now. So, uh, sorry, I'm coughing. But yeah, that's gonna do it. So, we'll take one last look at Kate and I's teams. We'll not look at anybody else. This is my team: Mahomes, Derrick Henry, James Cook, Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson. I had the sack between Mahomes and Kelsey, Chuba Hubbard, and Jalen Waddle at my flex, which could be very interchangeable with Stephon Diggs, along with Brandon Ayuk if he gets back healthy and playing. And then I like the upside with Jaden Higgins, J.K. Dobbins, and Isaiah Likely as rounding out my bench. And I'll let Cade take us through his team, and then we'll call it a day.
So I have Joe Burrow and Chase Brown. That stack is obviously nice to have. Alvin Kamara, my RB2. CeeDee Lamb and Brian Thomas holding down the fort at wide receiver. Evan Ingram at tight end. Tet McMillan at wide receiver or at flex one. Travion Henderson at my second flex. But that's interchangeable with Travis Hunter and kind of anybody else who can just work into that second flex spot. But I think we have pretty solid teams, both of us. I think there's a lot of upside. I think there's some downside though. We picked like guys like Alvin Kamara and like Jalen Waddle, but you never know.
Yeah,
I think if those guys hit, I think we have pretty deep teams.
yeah. It should be interesting to see. So, again, that is going to do it. We'll look to do maybe one or two more of these in the time coming. I know the drafts really never work out the way you think they're going to go, where the mocks go. So, you can have a plan, but it's going to be how you can adjust to what happens. So, that is going to do it for this podcast. So, thank you guys for listening and keep on the lookout for more fantasy eps.